Welcome to Terra Juno Painting Stuff.
It's a beautiful sky.
In this video, we will be painting this 12 by 9 inch oil painting on location in the bushes in Panama Flats. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. We are going back into the bushes of Panama Flats to paint this gorgeous tree and all of its many, many leaves.
It's a little hard to get into. I swear there's more prickles than the last time.
When I first saw this scene, I just loved it. I loved the contrast of the gnarled tree bark with these soft leaves and vines sort of swooping around it. It was almost like the tree had on a ball gown and it was showing off. I don't know, that was just my first impression. I just thought it looked really interesting, and I thought it would be a challenge to paint all of these leaves and try to make it look like something, because there's a lot going on in this scene, but there's also a very narrow tonal range to deal with. You don't have a really bright sky in here, and you don't have open spaces or a really obvious composition to guide you through it. I did a painting here previously during the day, and it was a really great spot for Emily. This is my plein air buddy Emily, and she comes everywhere with me. She likes hunting water skeeters and the occasional acorn that falls from this giant oak tree down into the creek. It's really wonderful, and it's like our own secret little spot. I probably should have come here about half an hour earlier, but it is what it is, so you have to work with what you have. Oh no. You have to decide whether you want to do a really tight painting or something looser. I'm going to be using a pencil and a ruler. I like using a viewfinder to help me find my composition and proportions. It helps to narrow down what you're going to paint because there's so much around you. It can be very difficult to narrow down what you actually want to paint. I want this painting to be very brushy and loose, so I don't want to start with a tight drawing. If you want a very tight painting with a lot of detail, then you might consider starting with a very accurate and detailed drawing. If you want it to be loose and painterly, don't spend much time on the drawing. 5 minutes max. Put the lines in where you want to place things-ish, and then get going with your paintbrushes. Well, this paint's a bit dry. On my palette, I have titanium white, fast dry white, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow light, ivory black, alizarin crimson, cadmium red medium, terra rosa, permanent green, phthalo green light, Prussian blue, and ultramarine blue. Oh yeah, and azo green. For a medium, I've been using this Gamblin solvent-free gel. It's been working pretty good for me. I'm just starting with some medium azo green. There's a lot of green happening here. I'm putting a touch of fast dry white in there to start off. Adding a touch of permanent green. I've got a bit of black, my gel medium, terra rosa, and fast dry white. I'm just gonna make the dark base for my bark, and I'm gonna just use a bit of black in there to create this dark sort of warm purple that I'm seeing in the dark areas. I only got about half an hour in the first day. I just left it too late and we ended up running out of light. So we had to get out of here before it got too dark and all of the little night creatures came out.
All right. Emily almost got in a fight with some little creature, probably a river otter. It's also pretty dark. My camera's doing a really decent job of cutting through the dark, but I think it's probably time for us to leave. I'm not sure she would win against a river otter, actually. It is really pretty out here this time of night, but really dark.
I really wanted to finish this painting before the paint dried. I was not able to get here until 2 days later, and this time I arrived earlier so that we would get more daylight.
Well, the paint's tacked up a little bit. It's not as wet as I'd like to be.
I'm adding some white and yellow ochre into my darker bark color. It gives a nice silvery hue, and for the backlight reflected off of the foliage onto the bark, I'm just adding a bit more yellow ochre and permanent green. It's getting a green glow from the light bouncing back off of the trees.
There's a bit of sunshine on that branch. I really like that.
For the brighter colors where the sun's hitting the dappled leaves, I'm using phthalo green light mixed with cadmium yellow light to really set it off with the more subdued greens. I'm blurring my eyes slightly to get a sense of the general color in the area, and then I'm just adding little dabs of color to add variety and give the sense of foliage. We usually have this spot to ourselves, but I looked up to see that a dog had come down through the bushes and had found us. Emily took off after it, and I went up through the bushes after her. She's not great with other dogs and people, and she needs to let everyone know that she is the boss. We ran into the dog's owner, and I kind of tried to smooth things over, but he was very suspicious of what we were doing in the bushes. He seemed to think that we were up to something nefarious. I didn't tell him that I was painting because I didn't feel like answering any more questions. I really wanted to get back to painting because the light was getting low in the sky and I only had about an hour. And I was a bit concerned that he was going to call the police, but I don't think he did call the police, so all was well. My greens are mostly a mixture of ivory black, yellow ochre, and Prussian blue, and some permanent green or azo green here and there. I don't really have a plan for this painting. I'm really just giving the painting what it needs and feeling my way through it. The light was getting more copper as the sun was going down, and I really liked where it was leading me. I added a little bit more burnt sienna and yellow ochre into the paint to get a bit more of that copper hue. I'm just kind of letting my arm guide me to put in the foliage. You don't want to think too hard about it. You really don't have time to meticulously render every leaf, so you need to just tap into that rhythm of the foliage. No, I haven't been smoking anything funny. Try blurring your eyes if you need to. You can put as little or as much detail into your foliage as you want, but if you aren't enjoying the process of painting those little leaves, it's time to stop.
do a bit of scratching. Well, the paint was a bit scabby there, so that didn't quite turn out how I was hoping.
I was sort of in a trance painting all these leaves, and then I just felt like it was time to stop. Plus, Emily wanted to snuggle. She was really muddy.
Hi. Yes, you're such a sweetie.
I was able to give another hour to this little painting this evening, and it was such a joy. And I got out of there before any police arrived.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us for another plein air adventure. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you paint something beautiful.